Hello, welcome back to another episode of the A Change for Christ podcast. Today we will be having a men's panel part two. Um, your mic ain't working. So today we will be discussing race, spirituality, entrepreneurship, relationships, and politics. So we're going to let our panel introduce themselves, and please say your name and age. Come on.
Don't be shy.
I guess I go first. My name is Kevin Thomas, and I'm 49, and I go here Change for Christ. So yeah.
I'm Raylan Johnson, 26. I also go here to Change for Christ, the drummer. And
I'm Jeremiah Hughes. I'm 21. I also go here, and I help out in any way I can.
All right. So would you like to, we're going to start off with race. So first question is, what are challenges and benefits of having diverse racial representation in positions of power and leadership?
Don't be afraid.
Well, I think one of the benefits is if you got a diverse church or business or whatever, people will see that you're open-minded and that you're not prejudiced towards one another. And then the challenges is, as like Pastor Jay say, sometimes people get in their own little groups, maybe blacks over here, whites over here. So that's kind of a challenge because people trying to migrate to their own race, started being open-minded to be friends with everybody else.
Anyone else? No? What are the challenges and benefits of having diverse racial representation in positions of power and leadership?
I feel like a benefit of it is, let's just say, like, if one of us starts a black-owned business, right, more of our community will support simply because of the race. That can be a benefit or a con. I know a lot of the times, like, especially with my parents or whatnot, they may watch a movie because of a certain black actor that they like. The movie could be terrible, but because they were in it, they want to watch. Mm-hmm. That ends up creating a sense of bias because it's like, because of your race, you feel comfortable with this person, but it's like, it's a lot of people who are in our community, not even for our community. And it's like, you just looking at their color, but you're not really looking at them. You know what I'm saying? So that's like the benefit part and the con of it, because it's like benefit because if you go to a job, you may feel more comfortable if your manager is black because they can understand your problems. Or it could be even worse because then if they do something against you, you're thinking about, oh, well, we the same, but you still doing this to me when it's a place of business, not a place of color.
Well said. Braylon?
I feel like
Just switch mics.
it's good. Okay. I feel like overall it's a good experience to have a very diverse environment. But one thing that is negative that can come from that is what Brother Kevin said, that they would have cliques. And when you click up in the work environment, it can make things very just very chaotic because you'll expect something from somebody else just because of the walk of life that they share with you. You won't really be open to someone else's. But depending on how that work environment is orchestrated, you have a better experience, but you'll still have those issues where you can get put in a box and you can get put over here. Somebody can get promoted and then you won't, but you're doing the same thing, simply because your boss may be a different demographic than you. So
Ambi, would you like to go to your question?
Yes. So my question kind of coincides with Deja's question, or where y'all were kind of going with y'all's. So recently, or I don't know if it was recent, but I saw an interview with actor Morgan Freeman, and he actually said that he doesn't think that we need Black History Month. So with that, I pose a question of things like recently they have a Black honors, like an actual honor for awards for Black people. They have things called Black Girls Rock, which is an award show celebrating Black women. Do you think things like this, like highlighting achievements for a specific race, do you think that hurts us as a race or as a whole, or do you think that empowers us?
That's a good question. I think it's both, for the simple fact of like Black History Month, with Morgan Freeman saying, like, there's a part of me that can understand where he could be coming from. I didn't see it, so I'm not sure what he meant. But like, what I would mean is, like, let's say we've always had Black people in the world. We've always had these different things. We've always had white people in the world, Indian, African, Native, all these different races. And it's like a lot of the times now, especially like in the world we live in today, like having a Black History Month is like a trend. Like when everybody did, oh, Black Lives Matter, like nobody really cared about the movement. They was just in it because that was the next big thing. You know what I'm saying? Or like, now they want to have this month. They want to do all these different things. And it's like, if we was meant to be on this world to be equal, why does it matter that we have to do all these things to make it known? Like, it didn't work years back then. It's not working now. Now people are just kind of trying to make it a thing, like, because of entitlement. Like, they feel like because of the race they are, the color they are, how they look, like this is what they deserve. And it's like, you don't see, Indian month or like Asian appreciation. You know what I'm saying? Because like those people, I mean, a lot of those people in those areas, that they're still elevating, doing their things, and people aren't seeing it because they're not out here broadcasting it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of my thought on that. But I feel like it's good too, because it's like, as a community, like, we have been through a lot. Our ancestors worked for a lot. And so like, to downplay that is a little disrespectful. Like, people don't vote simply because we're uneducated. But it was like, why not get into it, or at least learn about it, since there was such a big fight to get those rights? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Jeremiah said, I think it's very important that people get recognized, not only Blacks, you got Cinco de Mayo for the Spanish people, and if they need award or if they get award, I don't see nothing wrong with it. And I think not recognizing Black people is kind of like a slap in the face because of what we went through in the past. So if a Black person does something that achieves a goal, or need to get recognized for that. So I think it's very important that we recognize the individual that is deserving of the award.
Overall, I don't really agree with the fact that we shouldn't have Black History Month. I think that's just a cop out for people that don't want to get down to what really matters, right? Like, in America, our experience as Black people has been different from maybe somebody across the seas. I mean, we have to make sure we know about these things. I already know they're trying to take these things out of the history book. So that's one thing that's very alarming to me. And then it has us, accepting the fact that we say that we don't need it. But if we don't teach what has happened before, then how are we going to know what we need to grow from? So just leaving that out is not an option to me.
So in this year, 2024, do you feel like we have proper representation in the media?
No,
Why?
because it's all a trend. Like people don't do it for the right reasons. People do it. Some people actually care, but some people either want clout, they want to follow the trend, they want to be a part of something. And I feel like, you'll have white people being like, yeah, I support. It's like, what do you support? You support the trend, or you actually support the history and the evolution and everything this has became? So it's like, it's cool. Like, I don't have anything against it, but it's like some stuff, like I really couldn't care less on, the whole movement thing, because it's like, okay, we all just children of God at the end of the day. So it's like we all the same. We just got a different color. That's it. But like taking out a whole month, taking out one race's history, now that's like making it personal in a way that's gone way back. And it's kind of like, again, downplaying everything that happened. Like America's supposed to be land of the free, but like y'all want to get rid of a race. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, just to answer your question, I think it's a lot of role models that's in movies, TVs, or athletes or whatever, preachers or whatever. It's a lot of role models, but I think people pick and choose who they want to look up to. I think being bad or acting crazy or cursing all the time, people kind of migrate to bad things. Study somebody that's actual role model that's trying to do the right thing, but in a sense not popular. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of young people kind of migrate to the bad things, and they look at people, look up to people that's not really a role model.
Okay. Well, then, with that being said, we're going to go into politics because I feel like my question, goes into that. So it's crazy that you brought up media because that's my question with the politics. What role does media play in influencing public opinion and political discussions?
I would just like to say that first, our culture is pretty strong, so we influence a lot of things that go on, especially in the society now. But I know that with that, everything that goes to the media is not true, and we do misconstrue a lot of things that have been said from either party or whatever in politics. I know that a lot of us in this generation don't like to read. That's one thing that keeps us out of the loop for real. So we don't really know what's going on. So we'll look at social media and different things that are biased, and then we'll run with what sounds better. So I feel like media is kind of toxic when it comes to this politics thing. And now it's gotten to a point where the leaders now are getting involved in social media to the point to where they figured out that works, for them to get an upper hand on that other person, but they might not be a truthful candidate for the situation.
I feel like people are gullible. Like the media, your feed is gonna be personalized towards you.
Yeah.
And it's like you go through something in life and you just so happen to see it on social media and then be like, oh yeah, that's it right there. Then you believe it. You know what I'm saying? It's like this that was locked up twice, had this case, did this in the past, and he's talking about these different things. And you just ran. You didn't do no research. You didn't look into it. You didn't see if his facts was right. None of that. This influencer is talking about doing this for these people over here, and you don't even know why. But because of he was somebody you knew or somebody you like and you follow him, you support him. But if somebody asks why do you support, you're gonna be like, I just just wanted to support. You know, I like him. I'm gonna support that. He could be supporting something great that's taking over something, and it's like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like I deleted social media because I just felt like it was wasting my time. I felt like I was sitting there not doing nothing. I'm laying down on the bed, and it's like you get caught up scrolling, and you don't realize like how productive you could be, and it's like that hurts you more. But other people win because now you're watching their stuff. They want you to dig into whatever they post or whatever they say because they know you're gullible. Like it's not. It goes past this influencer said this. Like it's higher than that because like for that influencer to even get to your page is something that somebody else did to add it to your life cycle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's people higher up. They looking at all that and they, oh yeah, we got it. You know, it's like if you just think about some stuff or like go in the real world and like just make different other connections and actually get help with certain problems you may be dealing with rather than just, well, I don't know. Michael B. Jordan said to do this, so now I'm going to do that. Why? Because Michael B. Jordan's famous. Okay, well, that doesn't matter. So it's just, I feel like it's how you partake it. Like it's how you portray everything, like how you look at it. It was kind of like what Daryl was saying a month or two ago. He was saying something about like, you know, people you may see on your media or stuff, like it should just be for comedy, entertainment, and then leave that there. And when you go somewhere else, don't take it with you. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of it's nonsense, a lot of it is true, but at the end of the day, whether you watch or not, they still get paid, they get money, they have other people, so it doesn't matter.
What was the question? A two-part question, right?
Yeah. What role does media play in influencing public opinion and political discussion?
Yeah, the media plays a big part, especially in younger generation, because you got these different, TikTok, Instagram. And when I was a child, we didn't have all that. So now it kind of pollutes people, young kids' minds. Don't get me wrong; social media is good if you use it the right way. But sometimes, people can speak well. That don't mean they mean well. And people can put things and different perception out there, and in the real world, they real lives is totally different. So yeah, so social media is a big influencer. So you just gotta be careful what you see, what you believe in, so to speak.
For me, and I'm glad it's an age gap here because we can get a vast opinion. For me, I feel like millennials and Gen Zs, some are not as interested in politics because they feel like their voice won't be heard anyway, or their vote won't count. How do y'all feel about this election in particular, and do you feel like your vote will truly count?
Well, I'm in politics. I'm on council here in Alvarado. It's a different world. Don't get me wrong. You got some people that's in politics that very genuine and that's got a good heart. But then you got some people sometimes that says things or do things for their own gain. So, but this particular election, it's very important. Let me back up. It's very important as a race of people to vote because people died for our right to vote. So if you don't vote, that's a slap in your ancestors and your forefathers in the face because they struggle their whole life trying to get us as a race of people to vote. So what if you don't vote, that's the disgrace to your race. So your voice can be heard. I know you think, well, just one person. Well, one person, it makes a difference. So I think it's very important for everybody to vote.
I'm gonna chime in right before y'all go because I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit in here because I want to spark conversation. I agree, but I disagree too with what you're saying because I know, yes, they did fight for our rights to do certain things, but they fought for our rights to have the right to or not to vote.
Let me handle this now.
Okay.
Let me handle this.
Isn't that your right?
No. Well, I see what you're saying, but it's wrong. I tell you why.
Ooh.
They die for one reason and one reason only when they vote, for we have the right to vote. Can you tell? Because black people wanted to vote and they couldn't. They made rules and regulation laws in place to keep you from voting. So people died the right to vote, not have a right if you want to vote or not. So they wanted to vote to make their voices heard and have an opinion on things and rules and regulation in this world. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I also agree that our ancestors died so that we can vote, because if they didn't care if we voted, they wouldn't walk anyway. Like we wouldn't, if we didn't want to vote, we wouldn't have did all that. But I just feel like in this time and age, we don't do enough research on people that are running and are in these different positions, and we'll just vote for people for certain little reasons, or how they're portraying themselves. Especially in this election, we already know what we're faced with. I personally believe that it's just not fair that we don't have a younger people in there to really stand up for something, because these older people are not going to be able to fight the fights for us that we need going forward. They only know what they know and what they've grown to know. Everything after that, they're not trying to really learn about it. It's kind of the same with like music or any other thing that people want to do. Like the older generation doesn't really like this new wave of music, but it's always a good thing for us to reach back and figure it out. Why can't they just clear the way and let us do something for ourselves? I feel like every time we have a president or somebody in that position, they're like super old and they have these old tactics that don't work anymore in this new world. Everything changes every day. We don't need these same people in power.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in this world are arrogant. They're uneducated on the reason why they should, and they're arrogant because they care to vote because they only care about themselves. We live our lives every day, but we complain about like the roads is jacked up or this school is doing this. They're not treating my kid right, when it's like, if you just really learned about it, like everything is changed with a vote. Like it's not just the big election. And that's what I learned, like being in college, because I worked for a office. I was like dealing with intercultural engagement and stuff, and like understanding that like you can actually change something. Like if somebody our color who was maybe in a sport or something, right, did something and went famous, it is so easy for them to get their whole community to follow them. Mm-hmm. So rather than doing something that's just entertainment, it'd be so easy for us to all step up and vote and change something if we knew what we was voting for. Like, and I feel like it goes back to your question about media. Like, media is good and bad. Like, political debates, all that stuff is on the news. We don't watch the news. We watch Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, right? And so you're not going to get the same thing on the news. Why? Because people troll a lot. People don't care. People make fun. So then the media that we see of the people in the election is going to all the flaws. But like Michael Jordan was a very successful person and missed way more shots than he made. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to do your research. Like, he didn't do this. Like, it was a reason he was the best at what he did, because of how he trained, because of his mindset, because of the research he did, his dedication. And it's like, we don't put that type of effort into something that we feel is useless. Like, if we over here and like, I don't feel like voting, then you'd be like, why? It's like, I just don't care. And it's like, oh, okay, well.
I agree with Raylan about the younger crowd. It's, it comes a time and place when your time has passed you up. They should have an age limit on certain things, as far as president, for instance. If you're 95 years old, what is you running for president
And
for?
he got Alzheimer's.
You got 4 more years, get it?
but what I'm saying is they ought to have
Can't even remember his sentence.
they ought to have an age limit, like, I can say 40 to 70, whatever it may case
60.
be. But when you get a certain age, I don't care, like being a preacher. If you're 99 years old, you need to step on down from the pulpit, pass the torch to the younger generation. They can take up the slack because you got different ideas, and when you're old, when you get a certain age, time has passed you up, and so you got a time and place for everything. But I think they should have an age on certain things, criteria, like being a president or being a preacher. It sounds crazy, like driving a car. I think there should be a time and place when you shouldn't be driving the car anymore. When you get 95, I don't think you should be driving the car. You see what I'm saying? So I think they said you can have your license from 18 to, you can say 85 or even 90, whatever. But whatever the case may be. So I think it's a time and place, and the age should be on stipulation on certain things.
Yeah. People don't realize that's a very discouraging thing to the youth when they're not able to get into the positions that they train for their whole life. And then now you telling them they gotta be like borderline 75 to even get a chance. And then once they get into those positions like presidency, you have to understand the president just don't get to do what he want to do. He got to go through different things, different hoops to even get things passed. So it's not like they're just operating at their own regard. They have to, sometimes they got to say yes, or they know that their position is gone. Like that's just with any political position. And with that, I feel like just politics in general, it turned into a big just drama fest, really. I mean, if you don't got the publicity behind you and the following,
The money.
you know what I'm saying? And if you're not a certain age, I mean, people not riding with you. I mean, how many times have we had elections and nobody's looking at the other parties at all? Like nobody's reading up on them, none of that. And then people don't even vote and do things for their local elections. So how do we expect them to try to make a change with something that big? We can't even change our neighborhoods.
That's the truth. Like I agree with both of them. Like, Trump 79, Biden 81. He up there stuttering every time he
I was
talks.
saying it's showing. He act like, first of all, in the debate, he forgot what he was saying mid-sentence.
Right.
And we're supposed to be voting for him to run the entire country.
And he got up there and said he like ice cream.
That's real life.
I just don't understand what that got to do with helping my country. You know what I'm saying? You got the USA is looking at you, all of them, and you came up here and took an ice cream break,
I did the same
and
thing.
people was rocking with it.
We just talked about what it's about. It's a lot of qualified younger people that do not have the money.
Mhm.
It's a money game, really.
Yep.
It is.
Money and
I
power.
also feel like people look at our generation now with all the flaws that people who are above our generation wouldn't even consider somebody younger because they feel like they don't know anything.
Well, yeah, but then they also have to consider that the world that they grew up in no longer exists.
Exactly.
So they don't know anything either.
That's true.
Yeah, time has passed them up, and then a lot of people feel like you got to be a certain age to be mature, or you got to be a certain age to be qualified. I mean, that's not true. You got some younger, ladies and younger men that's very qualified and very mature for their age and can do the job. And like I said, you got the two presidents that's, up in age. And so I think a younger person could do a better job far as this world, like they just said, this world, like I said, time has passed them up. I think you need some new set of eyes, younger set of eyes and young minds in that position to get the country move forward.
I agree. I feel like having somebody who's especially, around their 80s, in a sense, you're not looking for the next generation, what you can do to benefit them. You're looking at what you can do now.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you have somebody younger, they can relate to more of the generation that's coming up. So they make decisions that's going to benefit our evolution. You know what I'm saying? Like time, like you said, time is always moving forward. the world is always evolving. So if you get stuck in the past, like that's not really smart. And so it's like if you're not here to actually create a change, and not everything everybody is going to agree with, but at least you're thinking about, okay, this is what's better for these communities. What they're doing now is building more into the system of the next people who come up. We're gonna make sure that they're more stupid. We're gonna make sure they're more gullible. We're gonna make sure they're uneducated. We're gonna take away their history so that again they can live in the system that we created, and the system will never change. But when you have some older people, because I will say there are a lot of older people who would be qualified, who understand the game, but those are the people not trying to speak up. Because at the end of the day, they're like, well, it's just a game. You got to survive. You got to make it on your own. It's the pride. Like, you got to put your pride away and actually help somebody. Like, what's the point of having knowledge if you can't use it?
So shifting gears a little bit, because I feel like we could stay on this topic forever. So we're gonna go to spirituality. So how do you integrate spiritual practices into your relationships and interactions with others?
Well, I think it's very important because if you spiritual and you're seeking God, you're gonna have love in your heart, and that's gonna make you treat others a lot better. Because at the end of the day, we're all here to try to uplift each other up, try to tear each other down. So yeah, if you got a spiritual and relationship with God, you're gonna do the right thing. Of course, everybody gonna make mistakes, but you're gonna have love in your heart for one another. And I think that's what's wrong with the world now. Love, there's no more love in the world. It's all about me, myself, and I. But don't you know, God blesses you to be a blessing. When you do good by people, God will do good by you. And a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people come to church and for 20, 30 years and still don't have a relationship with God because they don't have love in their heart. And God looks at your heart first. You can put a suit or a dress on and fool people some of the time, but you can't fool God none of the time. So God looks at your heart, and I think if you got love for God, you have love for others.
I agree. But like, I just lost my train of thought. I feel like when you're closer to God, you learn to accept things. And I feel like you're not as defensive simply because like a lot of people expect the world to give them something. And it's like the more you expect the world to give them something, the more it's going to take it away. And it's like if you don't got God in your heart, you can't accept life. Like somebody could do you wrong, and because of the actions of one person, you're carrying that onto building a relationship with another. Or you were in a relationship, a romantic one, somebody cheated. Now you look at certain different things, X amount, before you even decide to know who a person is. I was watching a video the other day. This guy, he just came, it was like one of those little blind date things, right? Whatever. It popped up. This guy came in, he walked in, he was just standing there, kind of introducing himself, talking a little bit. These girls was asking him all these questions that were good things. And the last question they said was, what's your sign? And then he was like, Capricorn. They just lost it. And it's like, why does that matter? Like, how does that define who he is? Like, if we're a soul and a body and flesh, what does a sign have to do with that? If God created me, what does a moon sign have to do with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. But that's how I think. But it just adds more problems because I feel like people are sensitive and like so entitled. And it's like, you don't know what path you're gonna go on. You can't plan out your life no matter how smart you are. And it's like if you just learn to accept anything that comes by and then have love for people at the end of the day too, you'll live a better life in general. People wouldn't fight as much. There wouldn't be so much wars, toxicities. People would just communicate, fix things, and then establish.
To piggyback on that is, people come to church and, money is a very touchy subject. So I'm gonna give you from my experience. The more you give time, but if you give to the house of the Lord for his tithe and an offering, that's very important because nothing's free in this world. What we're doing now, you got the lights, you got the AC, it costs money. So people try to look at other people, but if you start with yourself and try to be the best self you can be, then the whole church will be a lot better place to come. So it starts with yourself. So what I mean by that is I feel myself giving tithe, and I said, you know what? I can give more. Then I give more. So what I'm saying is if you give to the Lord, and I'm a living testimony, he'll give back to you. But a lot of people don't believe or are very spiritual because they just see what's in front of them. You got to see, before the spiritual aspect is, I give you an example of what happened. I was tired and I said, let me get more. And I give more and more. Checks come in the mail. My car don't break down, or my AC went out last week. And I tried to pay the guy. He walked out of my house and said, the owner took care of it. If that ain't God, you tell me who it is. And I went to the bank and got $500 to pay the guy. And he said, no, don't you worry about that. The owner said he know you. And he said he'll take care of it. So what I'm saying is if you tithe, don't take my word for it. Just try it. I don't care if it's $20, $40, it ain't no number. I don't care if it's $5. Start with that, whatever you have to start with. You try God and watch how he will bless you. But a lot of people don't see the big picture, and I'm a living testimony that because back in the day, church, everything is new, and I had to learn how to tithe. And like I said, the more I tithe, the more God blesses me. Just try it.
I just wanted to go back over the question that you said. How do we integrate our fellowship with God with the personal things we do as far as our relationships and things?
Yes.
You
how
do
you
Yeah.
Basically just how do you integrate spiritual practices into your relationships and interactions with others?
So when it comes to God, you having your personal relationship with God, everybody has their personal relationship with God, whether that's you got to go meditate, or you got to go play for the Lord, or you got to go read the Bible. But one thing that we forget about is being transparent. You got to be transparent with yourself, with God, and the people around you in the same type of fashion for you to do what you're supposed to do within the Lord. Like you can't be in here, hooping and hollering and then, giving tithes, and then you go outside and then you'll see somebody that need, or maybe a homeless person, and you walk by them knowing you had spare change, knowing that you don't be using cash. You know what I'm saying? So you have to just be honest with yourself. And then when you get somebody in your life, like, when you have a relationship, you shouldn't want to, nullify that. You shouldn't want to not show them that you're faithful. You should want to still do the same things you do when you don't have somebody around you. That's the thing about God. He blesses you a lot of times when nobody sees, and when you carry those same, things into the light, whenever you are in the open and people can see you, you're just doing it because it's in your heart. So if you start doing things because, I think I'm going to get this if I start acting this way, then you're not doing it truthfully, and you're not going to get the same return as you would if you were doing it from your heart.
Yeah, I agree. I watched a podcast last year from Tim Ross, and he said generosity has to be in your heart posture, not your bank account. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you think on that, like, sometimes we're not generous to ourselves. We don't cut us some slack, because in God's eyes, there's no crime that anybody has done or no sin that anybody has done that is over somebody else. Somebody could be a serial killer, and somebody could just cuss a lot. In God's eyes, they're still bad. And it's like we like to put judgment on things we haven't done that to us seem outrageous. But it's like we can't judge anybody. Like we're all humans, we're all made from the same creator, and we're all his creation. So it's like it doesn't matter too much on our opinions on a lot of things. Not in a bad way. It's just like you're not above God. And when you think you're better than somebody else, now you're trying to act like you're better than God because he's really the one who's above everybody. So you look at this person and you look at what they went through in their life, and you went through the same thing in your life. But because you overcame it and they're still struggling with it, you judge them. And it's like, well, you see that they're struggling and they may like what they're doing, but if you know whatever they're doing is not of the fruit and you care, why not help? And it's like they may end up changing their mindset, or simply because you offer to help, they may allow themselves to get help. But I just feel like people don't care enough because at the end of the day, they're going to go home, go in their bed, go to sleep by themselves and wake up the next morning. And whatever happened yesterday was yesterday.
Yeah. Amber, you want to go to your next question?
Hello. So mine, I knew we were doing a men's panel. You know, I like to go deep. So, and I have a question for everybody. So who was the first man to ever talk to you about God, and how did you receive it at that time? Yes, I see the look on your face.
That's a real good question. I'm gonna be honest with you. I gotta think.
Go back.
Who's the first man?
Can't remember the first one. Think of the first one that stood out to you.
Yeah.
And how did you receive it at that time?
Yeah. Well, probably when I was kind of younger, in my younger day, my mom made me go to church, Jehovah's Witness church, and Mr. Collins, and they kind of talked to me about God, but you know, everybody got different beliefs. You got Jehovah's Witness, you got Baptist, you know, everybody got different beliefs. And then another guy that talked to me about God was Willie Hafford. His name is Big Willie. He was kind of a Muslim. He talked to me about Islam and things of that nature. But I took all that in consideration and took it in and thought for myself what was the best and what do I believe in. So, but I thank God for the two people that was in my life, Mr. Collins and Mr. Hafford.
Thinking hard.
I didn't mean to stump y'all on that one.
Dang. I don't think I really had a situation of where I had a gentleman just tell me about God for real. I think I really got most of that from the women in my life because I used to have to go to church with my mom. So, but there was a time when my dad went to church a lot, but even then it wasn't like we were talking about it. I was kind of there. I think it would have to be my uncle though, because when I was younger and the church I went to before I went here, I was just going with them when I went to my cousin's house, but he was always faithful within his walk, and he would show me outwardly, you know, how a man can be when following God, like how fake you don't have to be. Like you can be real, you can acknowledge your, you know, issues at home, and you can talk a certain way that is not so preppy or so religious. But even then it wasn't a talk. It was just, you know, an active representation of what you can do. So yeah, I didn't really get the conversations really until I came here, and Uncle Calvin, since he's my uncle, I'm able to talk to him like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of with Raylan. I was raised by women, my mom, my grandmother. So really my grandmother was the one just pushing me. And when I was younger, my mom as well. That's really all I know. So like, since I know, I just always had an idea of who God was or what I should believe in. I feel like once I became not a kid, as in like over 18, um, I started to go through realer problems that like I could see the growth of how I could learn from them. And I feel like that's when I started encountering other men who helped me like with my relationship with God on certain aspects of how to go about certain stuff as a man. Simply last year, in the beginning of the year, I was going to a men's group at this church I went to, and it was just one brother. He's like 24, um, and the way he knew the word, the way he spoke on the word, the way he conversated, it made you realize, okay, everything you learned when you was a kid, sometimes about God, like wasn't true. Um, I was told, when I was a kid, that the Bible say forgive and forget. It don't say that. It say forgive every time you remember, um, because we may never forget it, but it's like the point is to keep forgiving, so that's how you should just go about it, at least in God's eyes. And it's like, well, then it made me think, okay, well, maybe some stuff is a little different. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of spiritually, I feel like a lot of men, unless you're just in church or a lot or whatever, or you're dealing with people kind of how we are over here, at least in the world, don't really talk about their relationship with God. And I feel like it's because some men don't want to be vulnerable around other men. And in that space, in those groups, everybody was vulnerable. Like we would literally talk about the stuff we were struggling with that week, in the aspect of where everybody was comfortable. And if you weren't comfortable, eventually you became comfortable. I'm saying this is a little deep, but if people were struggling with pornography that week, or they were struggling with drugs that week, or if they were struggling with money or just different things that as a man, sometimes you don't want to tell other men because you want to look like a man. And it's like looking like a man doesn't mean you have to be a certain way. It just means to be you. And like the only way you can be you is to be authentic and to be true. And I feel like in society you're portrayed, sometimes men have to be hard, they gotta do this, they gotta do this. And it's like, if you just read the word, God said men should be leaders, but that doesn't mean you have to be, toting a pole on you every single time you walk out the house to protect your family. You know what I'm saying? Like that can be something else. It doesn't have to be that. And to me, it just kind of changed the way I think. Like God can lead you to anywhere and you won't know what's going to happen, but like you can appreciate it because your relationship with him, the more you build it, the more you'll see. Like he's saying, you try God and watch and just see how you'll get blessed and how your life will be better. And then all you'll do again is just thank him. Even when you fail, you're supposed to just thank him, because it's like you're failing, but you get to learn from it. And like that's a blessing, because some people never learn from their mistakes.
So you actually brought me to my next question. So what does vulnerability mean to you, and how do you practice it in your relationships?
I feel like there's a good side and a bad side to being vulnerable, especially for a man. Like he said, in society now, everyone's trying to pinpoint what it means to be a man, or have certain type of things you need to do, how you need to dress, how you need to look. They got them handsome men now, what they call them, the ones with the jaw lines and all that, and super macho dudes, but they'll get slept in a street fight. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like vulnerability is just you opening yourself up to something. Or it could be that conversation. You're vulnerable to that conversation because maybe something that was said triggered you and opened you up to it. Even certain people, you may care about somebody a little bit more. You're more vulnerable to them because you're willing to go that mile with them. But it comes a time where you could be nervous or you could be scared in a situation, and that could be seen as vulnerable. And sometimes people confuse that with being weak. There's certain different things you have to do to be classified as weak. It doesn't mean that you just have to be stacked against the wall and against the corner. That doesn't make you weak. What you do in that situation, whether you run or whether you sit there and fight, but it's just a real slippery slope because we could care about something one day, or man can care about something one day and then turn around and wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? Maybe I really don't care about this. So
Yeah, to answer your question there, I think as Black men, we was raised to be tough, put on this perception of being strong and not showing who you love, your true feelings. So like, for instance, in my life, my dad, I know he loves me, but I can't remember, have he ever said, I love you, son? But he was raised a certain way that wasn't normal in the house. And then as men hug each other, that wasn't normal. So, and I had to get myself out of that because I was raised a certain way that you got to be tough. And when you say I love you or you hugging another man, it's like you showing like you weak. So I have to train myself. Sounds crazy, but you have to train yourself. You know what? It's okay to say I love you. It's okay to give hugs because, like I said, as a race of people, we was raised, especially Black men, that were raised to be tough and don't say I love you because it's not the norm.
Yeah, I feel like to be vulnerable, you have to put your pride aside. And I feel like that's something men struggle with a lot. I'm not about to go tell a 9-year-old I used to be a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? But it's like rogues go through stuff too. It doesn't really matter the age you are. It just depending on that environment, what your surrounding is, and like what is around in general. And it's like a 9-year-old, day before could have been on the verge of doing, but because you decided you didn't want to tell him your testimony, now he grows up being a crackhead. But you could have been like, you know what, hey man, I used to do this a lot. And from what I learned from it, I'd advise you not to do it, and here's why. You know what I'm saying? Or I used to struggle with lust a lot, or I used to struggle with a whole bunch of encounters a lot. And like a lot of people, especially in our society, like they'll boost that. Oh yeah, bro, you can get anybody you want. And then it's like, no, you're dirty. Like getting anybody you want isn't fun. Cause like after a while, it's like you can get anybody you want, but do any of those people really want you? And then you're eventually gonna get to the point when you want somebody to want you, and you done played all these different people, set an image for yourself, and you can't get out of that image because you're trying to change. Then you do try to change, and people make fun of you. So it's like you got to just be vulnerable in some of those situations because it's like, I feel like it shows the true character of a man. Like the only thing a man really has is his name and his word. If you can't keep your word, you can't be a man. You know what I'm saying? Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't do it, communicate it. Like, I just feel like it's simple, but it's also complicated. And I feel like the reason it's complicated is because us, ourselves, make it complicated.
All right, Amber, you want to ask your final question, and then we'll pause for any questions and comments, and then close out.
Sure. Well, I don't know if you want to even ask my question
Yeah,
because
go
I don't know
ahead.
where we went. So we didn't go into entrepreneurship, but that was my last question. So as far as like being an entrepreneur, if you were to start any type of business, what would you think, in your opinion, would be your biggest reason not to?
My biggest reason not to start a business would be if I didn't believe in myself. One thing that you have to remember, if you're going out there and you're starting a business or trying to do some of that nature, you have to believe in your journey. It's not going to be an overnight process, and that's what people always expect. They expect, oh, well, since I put in enough effort today, tomorrow I should have the image of where my expectations are. But that's just not really it. And then, if you are the type of person that looks at somebody else and you compare, then that's probably not the route for you either, because you can't be comparing what you have to somebody else if you're supposed to be worried about your mission. Everybody's story is different. You don't know what that person went through to get the type of success they did. So if you're going to do that and get your own business, be an entrepreneur, then just trust the process.
And I think the biggest, a lot of reasons that a lot of people don't start their own business is fear. They fear they're gonna fail. They fear they're not gonna go right. So I believe fear is the biggest factor. People don't start their own business, but it's back to spiritual. If you pray about it and ask God to lead you in the right direction, He will. But a lot of people don't pray. And prayer is the best tool in your toolbox. I didn't, back in the day, I wasn't a praying guy. Really didn't know how to pray back in the day. Now I'm getting better at it, and I pray 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day for my family, my kids, my job, my church. I pray for a lot of things. And then what the Bible says, God answers prayers. So if you pray about it and take the fear, He'll take the fear away from you, and He'll lead you in the right direction. And I think that'll help you as far as what you want to do in your business, or put you the right place at the right time with the right people if you put God first.
Yeah, I agree with what Raylan said, what Kevin said. I feel like the reason people can't start is because they told somebody about it, and then that person told them they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, they believed it, because people are gullible.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to somebody who's known you your whole life, they seen you grow up, and then you had an idea, and you wanted to do something, and you told them, and then they told you you're not ready to do that, or you're not equipped, you're going to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like another reason people don't start is because they don't know how. They don't know what's the first step. They don't know how they should go about it, or they rush it. Like he was saying, you got to trust the process. It's not going to happen overnight. It could take years. So I feel like if you really do want to start a business, you can't be lazy. And I feel like that gets everybody, because it be days you working, all you want to do is go in that bed and go to sleep. Maybe get you something to eat, take you a little shower, go back to sleep.
But I mean to cut you off, but back to that is, a lot of people say you're going to fail. Well, you're going to fail anyway. It ain't how many times you fail that counts. It's how many times you get back up. Mm-hmm. And you got to pick yourself up. And that pity part, I get it. You have time to whine, cry. It's time for that. But at the end of the day, you got to get up and do something for yourself. But you got to put God first. And then when you put God first, He'll direct you in your right path. But you got to pray. If you don't know how to pray, learn how to pray. So I think it just goes back to God first. I mean, if you put Him the head of your life, He'll take care of you. And I'm a living witness. I've come a long way, but I got a long way to go, but I come a long way. So, because I trust in God now with my whole heart, soul, and mind. And like I said, I be on my job. I'm a welder, and I be welding, and I be praying while I'm welding, because I work with explosive. I work with gas, fire. It'd be 1,700 degrees that fire be. So I work in a dangerous environment. So I got to be prayed up.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so if you want to start your business or you want to go to college or army or whatever, ask God to lead you in the right direction. And when you make the decision, stick with it and pray about it, and He'll take care of you. He'll guide you and lead you.
Yeah, that's
speaking-
the truth.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to speak on the failure part. I feel like people need to really get in their mind that failure is a part of success. You can't avoid it. And if you try to avoid it, you will never be successful. So
Facts.
just wanted to put that out there.
Failure's good.
A motivational speaker said, failure is an event, not a person.
Yes.
So I agree.
Last thing with me, somebody told me we ourselves, each 24 hours a day that we have, we talk ourselves out of at least 5 things.
Yep.
And I feel like that is an eye-awakening thing to realize that we ourselves stop ourselves from doing or being something that we're called to be.
Oh yeah, we
Yes.
make our life
That's
way
terrible.
harder than it has to be.
Yep. Yes, we do.
Even with entrepreneurship again, like I feel like it goes back to what Kevin was saying. You got to pray on it, but also like I feel like a lot of us prayed on it and we feel like we fine. Like if you don't have God's approval, then maybe you shouldn't have done it.
Yes. I feel like people pray and then move instead of praying and being still and waiting. And that's where they go wrong. And of course, I'm a living witness. I'll pray and be like, okay, he's taking too long. But I've
You
learned.
only can say this because you lived it. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I have. So
But now I've learned to just pray and be like, all right, he'll eventually reveal it and bring it to me. And it's been working wonders. So
Yeah, I'm gonna share a story with you. I like telling stories. There was I seen this on a movie, but it stuck with me. It's 2 farmers, and
Oh, Lord.
both of them needed rain bad because if they wasn't gonna get rain, they were gonna lose their business and their crops. So both of them prayed for the rain, but one farmer went out and planted the seeds. So which farmer you think really trusted in God?
the one planting the seed.
Exactly. So which farmer are you?
I'm the seed now.
Okay. Anyway.
Before I was the other one. But I'm going to read some of the comments we have online just because I feel like y'all need to hear it. Hold on, let me see. It's good.
And it got butchered on the line.
A lot of people are online.
Yeah.
They didn't come in, but they're online.
They talking
Yes.
bad about us.
So I hope I say her name right, Miss Tamisha Rogers, she's been giving y'all a lot of credit. She said y'all brothers are talking good. That's why you young brothers are called to this generation. She said for y'all to acknowledge and be aware of all of this at this young age is powerful. Y'all keep going forth. And then Lady J said this was good. And then Tamisha said, be still and listen to Holy Spirit. That's it. And we'll show through signs. So
Amen.
Just want to say we appreciate y'all for those comments and for watching this, because this is definitely a positive thing, talking in the communities about things that matter. So we'll definitely love, more participation, definitely. So we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I hope we
Thank you.
can. I hope things that we said help somebody in some way, whether it was here, whether it was online. Because at the end of the day, we all got to help each other.
Yes.
Jesus cared for everybody and loved the people that other people didn't love. So that's how we got to live.
Yes.
that's it.
Pastor, did you have anything?
Just a few quick comments on some of the topics you guys discussed. When y'all talked about the political stance and social media, that is true. We don't read the newspaper, not in newspapers anymore, but you can read them online. But we don't read, we just listen. And whatever sounds good, sometimes we run with it. social media influencer, you should do a background check on some of them, because you don't know their history, you don't know their background, you don't even know their political agenda sometimes. Sometimes if it sounds good, then you run with it. The next topic you'll talk about entrepreneurship. And it was a good that you said the thing that can keep you from succeeding is you talk yourself out. And whenever you talk yourself out of something, you become an automatic failure. And so, but sometimes you look at other people who have succeeded and you think it was easy, and then you jump into it and see how hard it is, then you fall back instead of going to that person, asking them, how did you do this? Why did you do this? When did you decide to do this? What experience did you have before you did this? Because even myself, you may look like, but preachers sometimes say, don't knock the glory until you hear the story. Because I had to lose 3 times to win. And when I say lose, I mean lose. I'm not talking about going broke. I'm talking about dead broke, everything gone, start over. But I had a wife who stuck by me through all that mess and helped me achieve where we are today. So it takes a partner. It takes a good circle of friends. It takes a village, like they say, to help you reach those levels. The Bible says in Deuteronomy chapter 8, around verse 18, but if I had to back up to 16 to make it make sense, if you go back to Deuteronomy 8 and 16, it talks about God asked the children of Israel, who fed you when you was in the desert? Who did this for you? Who supported you when you're going through all this? Then it goes on to say, so remember the Lord God when you're trying to do all these different things, because it is he who gives you the ability to create wealth, not of yourself. Because in verse 17, it says, you would stand up when you succeed and say, look what I did with my own hands. Then God backdoors it in 18 and say, remember the Lord thy God, that is he who has given you the ability to create wealth. And with that scripture being said, we all have the ability. Everybody in here can be an entrepreneur. Everybody in here got a business in their heart. Everybody in here can do something on their own, but you got to search the Lord thy God so he can pull that out of you. All right. And then the last one we was talking about, when you guys were talking about the young men and who showed you or who introduced you to Christ or led you in a better direction of Christ. You know, I often ask the question, what is a man? I asked one of y'all, what is a man? What is considered a man? Yeah, what's a man?
I say a man is somebody who isn't drifted away by what other people think. Whatever he does, whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, he does it with confidence in himself, knowing who he is and where he comes from, where his identity comes from. A man is somebody who is led by God and not by the world.
Okay, that's a good answer. Who else?
Just a simple definition, to say the natural born leader given to us by God.
Okay, Kevin, you got one?
Yeah, the man to, that's a broad question, but a man to me now is a man that loves God first. Because if you love God, you're going to do right by your family and people around you, and you're going to do better. So when you fail, you make mistakes, you learn from it and move on. A man commit to his mistakes and take care of his family and lead by example.
All right, Amber, what's a man? Deja, you're next, so go ahead. That's fine. I just want to get a woman's perspective of what she think a man is, because you heard a young man say it, you the middle-aged man say it. Now, from a woman, middle-aged woman, what is a man to you? Okay, Deja, what you think? Come
on. I think a man is someone who is not afraid to be vulnerable whenever it's needed, and also know how to utilize their strengths in the right way, not in the bad way, and also someone that is always putting God first and somebody that's selfless.
All right, Ebony, you want to try it? Maya, you want to try it? Okay. Corey, you want to try it? All right. Anybody? No, nobody. So what is a man? Guess what? None of y'all wrong, but none of y'all right. Because there's no true definition of what a man is. The only way you can acquire what a man is based on the man you know, or the man has been placed in your life. Because we have all been introduced to different men or what we thought were men, and we followed their lead because we thought they was a man. But as you grow older, you figured out, no, that wasn't a man at all. And your definition of a man changes as you grow and as you learn. So don't take society's advice or another person's advice to say what a man is and what a man is not, because they still giving you their opinion of the man that they know. So whenever you question yourself, just know that one day you're going to come to the conclusion that I don't know truly what a man is, because I'm involved in every day to become the man that God called me to be. All right? So that's my 2 cents. I turn it back to you guys. Thank you guys for coming out. It's been a great podcast. I look forward to the next one.
Well, he done brought the heat, didn't he? Okay, so we can go ahead and close out. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, and thank you all to the ones that came out to support. And of course, we appreciate everyone's support, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.
Yeah.